used to think good things will last forever, or rather, I really want them to. I feel very nostalgic about things that were familiar, regular, day-to-day things like my dad driving me to school every morning with the radio in the background, hanging out with the same group of friends for hours, feeling so comfortable and so at home, to seemingly bigger things like the first time I met him, the I love yous, the heartbeat so strong that it leaks into your stomach. You can feel the butterflies, the dopamine hit. I'm sure everyone can think of a time when things are great that you want it so bad to last as long as it can, maybe even forever. Maybe it was the time when you fell in love and nothing else seems to matter, or when you went out with your friends and a profound love and appreciation washed all over you. Whatever it is, we all seem to have something that we want to hold on to. However, as we go through life, the reality of impermanence catches us. Changes inevitably happen. Everything has a beginning, middle, and eventually ending. When that happens, many of us would try to hold on to the broken pieces and be consumed with our own denial. We refuse to accept loss in hopes that we can delay or even avoid the pain that comes with it. But we have to recognize that pain is part of life. It is inevitable, but it doesn't mean we have to suffer. As an old Buddhist saying that's popularized by Murakami goes, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The resistance to pain is what leads to suffering, not the pain itself. The suffering, if you get right down to it, is about your reaction to the change. In this video, I'm going to talk about why we find impermanence so difficult to accept and why it can be liberating to accept the impermanence of life. As humans, we crave permanence and predictability in different aspects of our lives because they enable us to feel a sense of security, familiarity, and identity. We want to feel in control of ourselves and perhaps the experience we encounter during our lifetime. In particular, we want the pleasant experience to last, but we don't really want the unpleasant things to happen. You don't want your partner to fall out of love with you, you don't want breakups to happen, and you don't want your loved ones to die and leave you. You want good things to continue to exist. The idea of impermanence, on the other hand, forces us to face our own mortality. Everything in our life will be gone one day. Your jobs, relationships, people, possessions, story of your existence. And it scares us. It triggers loss and uncertainties that make us uncomfortable, and we find it challenging, if not flat out anxiety-provoking, for us to accept. Many live their whole life avoiding and refusing to accept the impermanence of life, which ultimately leads to a continued cycle of suffering and confusion. Impermanence seems to be a problem only when your current preferred experience changes, yet you still desire to cling to this passing, pleasant thing that's no longer there. It seems that there's an underlying belief that there is some way to find a point of rest, of pleasantness that basically will not go away. It could be a person, a job, or some possessions which you identify yourself with, that gives meaning to your life and self, and therefore by losing them, we are thrown into a sense of disembodied limbo. We tend to keep looking over and over to find this place of rest, and once we think we found it, we cling to that sense of security at any cost. We see this being portrayed in our pop culture and films a lot. Growing up as a kid, we see fairy tales that portrays the ending of people living happily ever after.
They now pronounce you husband and wife.
When we grow older, romantic movies reinforces us the idea of the one, the person who we're meant to spend the rest of our lives with.
I love the Smiths. Sorry?
I said I love the Smiths. You've good taste in music.
You like the Smiths?
Yeah. To die by your side is such a heavenly way to die. I love them.
Holy shit.
Outside of romantic relationship, we also see the standard society puts on friendship, being with the same group of friends and hang out together all the time until they get old. The key message is permanence is what good looks like, and this is what we can and should expect of life. But this is simply not true. You may see something or someone as permanent when you're in the moment, but impermanence eventually reveals itself. And if you refuse to accept the reality of impermanence and are constantly looking for a resting place that doesn't exist, then it will provoke the suffering in our life. The Vietnamese monk Thich Nhat Hanh explains that impermanence does not necessarily lead to suffering. What makes us suffer is wanting things to be permanent when they are not. When we refuse to come to terms with the reality that nothing we cling to remains the same, and we constantly search for that pleasant place of rest that won't go away, then we suffer. As all things shall pass, it is unrealistic, even absurd, to find permanence in an impermanent material world. Freedom comes not from finding somewhere to rest, but from no longer needing to look for some place to rest, to accept the impermanence. Total acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean, okay, whenever bad things happen, I'll just sit here and let people walk all over me. It means, in this moment, this is happening. It cannot be changed. Can I be totally present and alert with it, without resistance? For example, when a breakup happens, instead of resisting it and strategizing on how to make your ex jealous by posting stories about you out partying, maybe it's more healthy in the long term for you to sit with your feelings, however painful it may be, and accept that that person has come into your life to fulfill a specific purpose and to teach you something about yourself. Once that purpose is fulfilled, it is okay to let the relationship go because this is what the universe is meant to be. Nothing we cling to will remain the same when the time comes. Many might think that accepting this truth of impermanence is pessimistic and depressing because they see this as an implication that you can no longer enjoy the very thing that we care about. The impermanence nature of things has somehow twisted the present reality, making our present experience no longer enjoyable. For example, it is commonly thought that if I accept this relationship is not going to last, then what's the point of being in it? I often wonder, is it really the case that the journey can only be enjoyable and useful if we end up getting the end goal, getting to be with that person, be in that relationship, getting that wealth, status, and power? There are indeed some people in the world that seem to have a lasting relationship until they both die, have built an empire that is remembered by everyone, and generated an amount of wealth that their next generation wouldn't have to worry for the rest of their lives. So you might say there are examples of people who seem to defy the principle of impermanence, so why couldn't I get that? It is simply because a lot of things, if not most things in life, are out of your control. You can do all the right things, and without the right opportunity in the right environment at the right time, you might just not get there. Life is unfair, and if you only find peace and joy in becoming those rare examples, then life can be quite difficult for you. Perhaps it is more liberating to see the journey as an end itself rather than a mean to an end. Knowing that everything is impermanent, it can in turn encourage us to cherish and enjoy the good moments while they last. Time passes, our parents are growing older day by day. We can't control time and mortality, but we can choose to spend more time with them, build relationships, and enjoy their company while we can. We think we have forever to get around to things. We don't, But knowing this can set us free from disappointment and wake us up to getting on with things before the moment passes. Your romantic partner or friends can leave you. It is also out of your control, even you've done all the right things. Accepting that things are impermanent. But while you're at it, as long as you've enjoyed the good times and learned from the bad times, then it might already be enough. It is also a particularly useful mindset to have during your bad days. All things and experience come and go, including the negative ones. No matter how dark and hopeless the world seems to you right now, you can trust that it won't last. Accepting the principle of impermanence allows us to adjust more easily to the low as they arise. To me, the most powerful thing is to learn to let go of things that's out of our control. Instead of constantly trying to manipulate experience, it is liberating to accept and love the experience as it is, knowing that you can always learn something from it, no matter the perceived pleasant or unpleasant experience at the moment. Nietzsche writes, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it." The impediment to peace is not the experience, but our resistance to the experience as it comes.
We're all traveling through time together, every day of our lives. All we can do is do our best to relish this remarkable ride.